Good morning. First, let me extend a warm welcome to all of you to this morning's first panel at the SelectUSA Investment Summit here in Washington, D.C. I want to begin by thanking Secretary Ross and the Department of Commerce for inviting me to participate in this week's summit, which helps to connect thousands of global business leaders with investment opportunities across the United States. This morning, we have assembled a distinguished group of executives to discuss the power of the U.S. innovation ecosystem to foster growth beyond the bottom line. I'll introduce our panelists in just a moment. This morning's discussion is an opportunity to share global perspective issues that are shaping long-term investment strategy in today's economy. The digital revolution is not only here, it's accelerating every day. Advances in automation, the digitization of information, and unprecedented access to data are transforming every sector of the global economy, including healthcare, transportation, energy, finance, and beyond. The scope, scale, and ubiquity of this disruption is truly unprecedented, and the opportunities are just as extraordinary. According to data from 2013 report from McKinsey Global Institute, about a dozen technologies from advanced manufacturing to advanced robotics, automation of knowledge work, Internet of Things, advanced materials, energy storage, and so on, will drive major economic and societal transformations in the next decade. They estimate the value of these emerging technologies could constitute 1/3 of the global GDP, with potential economic impact more than $14 trillion, and that's a modest estimate. At the same time, the confluence of data-driven technologies and the rise of the Internet of Things is also rapidly blurring the lines between physical and the virtual world. How can companies navigate and position themselves advantageously in this fast-paced, knowledge-based economy? In this environment, global business growth will depend on harnessing the power of innovation to create new business models, cultivating the best talent, and finding the right partners to execute your vision. The United States has always been defined by this kind of collaboration and knowledge sharing and entrepreneurship. It's one of the many reasons why the U.S. is home to the largest amount of foreign direct investment in the world. Global business firms, including the ones who are on the stage with us, can tap into the U.S. innovation ecosystem through talent acquisition and workforce development, research and development opportunities, technology transfer, and other partnerships across the United States in every state and territory, including with universities like Carnegie Mellon. As an entrepreneur and higher education leader who's been embedded in innovation ecosystems in several states, including Michigan and Pittsburgh, I have experienced firsthand the extraordinary teamwork that goes into all of this. Across the U.S., partners from industry, academia, and government, and regional economic development organizations are working together to help global businesses invest, grow, and succeed. And that's leading to catalyzing research and development here in the U.S. with significant investment domestically as well as from abroad. From research partnership to workforce development and beyond, there are unlimited opportunities for international corporations, both large and small, to take advantage of innovation, skills ecosystem that are a pillar of this economic environment. Now, to discuss these many opportunities, I'm delighted to introduce our distinguished panelists. Starting with stage right, I'm delighted to welcome Dave Henderson, President of U.S. Operations for CGI. Headquartered in Montreal, CGI is one of the world's leading information technology and business process services firms, with 73,000 employees worldwide, providing services to over 5,000 clients globally. Dave leads the strategy and operations of CGI's business portfolio in the United States, which plays a prominent role in the firm's global position across industries, including financial services, retail, manufacturing, and state government. CGI has operated in the U.S. for over 40 years with 80 offices and 7 onshore delivery centers. We're also joined by Ravi Kumar, President and Deputy Chief Operating Officer at Infosys, a global leader in the next generation IT consulting. Headquartered in India, Infosys has clients in 45 countries and more than 200,000 employees worldwide. As Infosys scales its digital transformation strategy, and you'll hear about that today, Ravi has been driving the creation of new technology, innovation, and capabilities needed for the workforce of the future. With a focus on collaboration and talent here in the United States, in fact, last year, Infosys announced plans to add another 10,000 US-based jobs over the next 2 years. Finally, on stage left, I should say, I am pleased to welcome Ulrich Spiesshofer to this morning's panel. Ulrich is the Chief Executive Officer at ABB, a pioneering technology leader in electrification products, robotics and motion, industrial automation, and power grid based in Zurich, Switzerland. ABB operates in more than 100 countries with 135 employees around the world, including more than 20,000 in the United States. ABB is expected to close this quarter on the $2.6 billion acquisition of GE Industrial Solutions. Dave, Ravi, and Ulrich, thank you very much for being here. Before we get started, please join me in extending a warm welcome to our panelists. Once again, thank you so much for joining us. I want to begin by inviting each of you to introduce your company, say a few words about your company with a particular focus on highlighting the key technology areas that are central to your growth, and how do you look at the US environment, and how critical is it to your strategy to lead in these areas? Dave, perhaps we can start with you.
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Jahanian. First of all, it's an honor to be here representing CGI. As you mentioned, we are based in Montreal, but we have a little bit of a different model in terms of how we're distributed around the globe. We have 73,000 employees globally, but in a distributed model, we have 12,000 in the US. And as I give my Canadian colleague a bit of a hard time sometimes, we have more employees in the US than they have in Canada now. So we've, and that's, I think, by design. The US is the largest IT services market in the world. And so this is where we're investing. This is where we're really looking to grow the company. But we have operations of similar size in the UK, in the Nordics, in France, and in Asia-Pac. So again, a very distributed company. We've been very balanced in the way we're trying to grow the company. In the U.S., we do business across both state government, commercial, and federal, and primarily focused in the commercial side, financial services, utilities, manufacturing, retail. And then in state government, we do a lot of programs for state governments. A lot of you are here from states that we operate in, and we're very proud to be a partner with these state governments over the last 40 plus years. So overall, one of the ways that we have been, I think an innovative way we've been investing in the U.S., not only just growing our company and merging with other companies in the U.S., is through onshore delivery. We feel like we pioneered onshore delivery back in 2006. With an opportunity in far southwest Virginia, which coal country in Lebanon, Virginia, and had an opportunity to open up an onshore delivery center where we would staff higher paying IT jobs in a fairly remote part of the state that really needed those jobs, but was investing in the infrastructure necessary to attract companies like ours. And so we started that delivery center, and as you mentioned in the opening remarks, we've now expanded that to 7 of these delivery centers in a very successful partnership with communities, with state and local economic development commissions, and state governments. So it's been a very successful way for us to invest in the U.S., invest in our capabilities here, but continue to be present for our clients in the U.S. in each city that we operate in. So,
Ravi.
So, Infosys is a global technology consulting firm. We help large corporations navigate through the journey of digital transformation, disruptive journey of digital transformation. We work on a hub and spoke model. Large corporations across the world are so paranoid about new age technologies, and new age technologies which power new age players who are constantly challenging their operating and business models. In a hub and spoke model that worked, where technologies were deployed but you don't need to be engaged very closely with clients. In the last few years, we are transitioning to a networked talent model where you have to work in co-located, co-innovated ways with your clients. So you have to co-locate with your clients. So we are setting up centers in the US. You referred to the 10,000 people we are hiring in the US. And we are co-innovating jointly in those innovation and technology hubs, which we've already started establishing in the last few years. So this is a journey of helping our clients navigate through a digital transformation and co-creating and co-innovating with them by building talent pools with new age digital technologies.
Excellent. Ulrich.
First of all, thank you very much for having the opportunity to be here this morning. I'm excited to be part of this panel again. ABB is in business since 130 years. We span our operations in more than 100 countries around the world. And we basically help the world with pioneering technology for utilities, industry, and transport and infrastructure. Today, we have about 36 billion turnover all around the world. Here in the US, we have in the last decade made a real quantum leap. We have deployed about $14 billion of capital by acquiring companies, by setting up facilities, and really becoming much, much stronger here in this environment. We have 60 manufacturing facilities today in the US, more than 20,000 people already next week. When we hopefully close GEIS, the industrial solutions business of GE that we are acquiring, another 14,000 people will join our company and come over. So when you look what we're doing, we basically do two things that are very, very relevant for the US. On the one hand, we provide technology to bring power from any power plant to any plug, to any consumption point in transmission and distribution of power. And when I look at the American environment and the US environment, reinforcing the infrastructure as a key enabler for the next phase of growth, we are ready to contribute also going forward. We have thousands of people producing transformers, high voltage solutions, but we also have our digital center on the West Coast where we are driving that. The second piece that ABB is doing is we automate the industries from the natural resources all the way down to the ready-made product. We are the first that has set up a robotics facility here, a manufacturing plant in Auburn Hills close to Detroit 3 years ago. And we really make robots in the US for the American industry and really drive. And I think it's particularly relevant because the US industry faces a couple of tremendous opportunities. The one is to continue to drive growth, productivity, and quality. And that goes hand in hand with automation. The second opportunity that I think is very, very near and something we should realize today with technology is to reshore value added that was put into remote countries, and through the combination of automation and local jobs and training, create value added here in the US, and we are ready to support that. And third, when you take how much fossil material and fossil energy today is burned to produce power, I think we should put more value add on this fossil and really make sure you have an extended value chain downstream, for example, in chemicals, create more jobs. So altogether, we have been in this country for 100 years. We have invested $14 billion, and we are ready to serve the next phase of its development.
Thank you very much for your comments. Ravi, in the introductory remarks, and also you mentioned that Infosys recently announced creation of 10,000 new jobs in the United States, which includes partnership with academic institutions. We're interested in hearing more about your model, what you've implemented, and where this model is going.
Sure. Thank you for that question. So for decades, Infosys has been a pioneer in building capabilities of the future, technology capabilities of the future. We sense them much ahead of time. We incubate them, and we scale those capabilities across the world. We have one of the largest training infrastructure as a corporation across any industry, across any part of the world. We can train concurrently 14,000 people residential in our campuses. As I had mentioned, our clients are now transitioning into an embrace of digital technologies, which needed us to stay closer to them and work alongside them to co-create and co-innovate with them. So in that journey, we did realize we have to actually build capability pools in the United States, which is our largest market. So we announced that we're going to do 10,000 new American jobs last year. And when we did so, we realized we're not going to find enough technology talent. In spite of that, we made that announcement because we knew that this is what our clients needed. So going back to the strength of Infosys, which is about education, lifelong learning, we started looking at talent pools which we could refactor, repurpose, legacy talent pools which we could refactor and repurpose. We started looking at our ability to go to schools and colleges in the US and hire. Out of the 10,000, we actually hired around 4,500. A significant part of that actually came from schools and colleges in the US. We do realize that when we go to schools and colleges in the US, you always don't get what you need, and there is a finishing last mile intervention we need to do to get them productive into the technology workforce. So we run a 8 to 12 weeks training program. We invest almost $20,000 for every new campus hire. And we do it in partnership with academic institutions and colleges in and around the clusters of clients we have. And we actually make them productive into the workforce. So in reality, we are creating net new talent which doesn't exist in the technology space in the United States. This is a formula which we have tested to scale, and it works in the last 1 year. So we kind of run these 8 to 12 week training programs. There is a myth that you only need STEM education for technology services and technology revolutions. We demystified that. We're not only hiring from STEM colleges, we're also hiring from liberal arts schools and design schools across the United States. And to me, that's the diversity of talent needed in technology. If you have to apply technology to businesses, you need talent across the value chain, and it's not just STEM talent which is focused on engineering products and services. You need liberal arts and design talent to go for. So we've identified clusters of our clients, and we have started establishing technology and innovation hubs. The first one we did was in Indiana. The second one we did was in North Carolina. We have established a design hub in Rhode Island, and we have established an insurance and healthcare hub in Connecticut. And we are going to establish a few more this year in the next 12 months, and we're going to continue on this journey as we go forward. We realized that we need to make this sustainable, long-term, and repeatable. And we do think this can scale and actually bridge the gap of technology skills in the United States. So we started working on a training facility, a 75-acre training facility in Indiana. That's going to be the largest training facility by any technology provider in the United States. And we're going to repeat this process on an ongoing basis and continue to evolve ourselves. This training facility is not just about campus hires. We think there are large legacy pools of talent which could be refactored. We also do believe that if you want to scale digital, you want to actually repurpose and refactor capabilities in your client organizations. Client organizations have large pools of talent which need to be repurposed as well. So this is a 3-tier model of hiring from schools, refactoring talent available, and refactoring talent for our client organizations, which are large corporations in the US. So this is a fascinating journey as we go forward.
Thank you very much, and we look forward to following this journey with you. Continuing on the theme of partnerships, Ulrich, in this global knowledge-based economy that's driven by ideas, of course, partnership with universities is very important for all companies. In fact, in my home institution at Carnegie Mellon, we have partnership with more than 300 companies, including more than 60 international companies, including yours, as it turns out. Following up that thing, I'm curious to hear about ways in which each of you have collaborated with universities in the US, national labs, other research centers, as well as economic development agencies to access talent, to invest in R&D and take advantage of new technologies. We'll start with you, Ulrich.
Yeah, look, I think you're raising probably the most important point that all of us as leaders face in the next couple of years, to get the right people into our teams, to take the people with us, to get them mobilized on new technologies, to make sure we build a workforce that is using technology and gets augmented by technology rather than being afraid of it. I think there's a clear mandate for all of us. And let me give you some concrete examples. When we set up our new robotics facility in Auburn Hills, close to Detroit, before we poured the first concrete into the ground setting up this facility, we set up a local apprenticeship program where we used the proven Swiss model and German model that ABB has to really train people to get ready to be leading edge in machine operating, in operating the new facility and get that going. And it wouldn't have been possible without the collaboration with the local governor, who was remarkable, supportive. Here, Washington was very supportive. We got a lot of the right kind of exchange with local institutions. And now we have a prospering plant, and we are employing already about 1,500 people there, and we're going to employ many, many more going forward. So that's one example. The other example is the partnership that we have with Carnegie Mellon since many, many years. We would not be the global leader in power grids, moving from the classic technologies now to AI being used to run a smarter grid, if we wouldn't work together with leading edge institutions all over the world, and especially here in the US, in the largest economy of the world. We have set up in the last 24 months an additional AI hub, an artificial intelligence hub in the West Coast in California. By the way, we did the same in Germany and in Shanghai. So we have basically a triple hub here solution, and working here together with startups, working together with large companies, working together with universities allows us to differentiate. And when we set up a new strategy for ABB 5 years ago, we put partnerships into the center of the enablers of the next phase of value creation for our company. Partnerships with American companies that we have established like Microsoft, like IBM, but also partnerships with smaller companies like a startup where we have co-invested with Elon Musk and some others in Vicarious, which is an AI startup that works together with university in the robotics field and gets going. So for us, it is a part of the success pattern that we have to drive. It requires an open company culture. It requires a win-win mindset where you say, I want the university to prosper and I want us to prosper. I want a partner to prosper and us to prosper. And altogether, that has really helped us tremendously to make progress whilst doing one thing that is super important today: focus on your strengths. We are complementing these strengths with these partnerships. We are shaping the strengths, and we are very, very grateful to have that. If you look the way we have changed the collaboration, in the past we worked with universities on material science for copper and iron products like motors and transformers. Then we worked together in electronics, and we have great partnerships with electronic companies. Then we went into the software and services space, and we're working together with HP, with Microsoft, with IBM on that space. And now we are strongly moving and very fast moving into artificial intelligence use in industry, in the grid side, in utilities. And again, partnership plays a major role. So altogether, we are super happy to have that approach. We are very blessed to have such strong partners here in the US, and we look forward to continue that journey.
Thank you very much. Dave, same question for you in terms of partnerships that you have developed with universities, national labs, economic development agencies.
Yeah, and I'll pick up on the talent theme here. And as Ulrich said, it's incredibly important to all of our businesses. And as Ravi said, there's not enough of it out there. So certainly, in the IT services industry, we talk about this war for talent, and it's on in the major metropolitan areas for sure. But there are not enough people. There are not enough skilled professionals out there. We have to really access the educational networks and bring people in. One of the ways that we've been able to do that, and I'll go back to this, our onshore delivery centers, is the center that we set up in Lafayette, Louisiana, in the Silicon Bayou, as they call it down there. But we partnered with the University of Louisiana Lafayette. They have a very strong computer science program there. And really, I don't think very well known outside of the academic circles, but great program there. We built our facility on the grounds of ULL, and we have a great partnership with them as we're working with them on a couple of different programs around the Center for Visual Design and Informatics, which gives us a lot of access to a lot of talent that is really working in the areas of informatics and data analytics. And then another really interesting program that we set up with them is called the Lafayette Engagement and Research Network. And this one's interesting because we worked with the university, and not only the university, but also high schools, middle schools, to get together and build sensor devices that we could put out into the community that will collect data and feed it back to a central database that is actually accessible to anyone in the community who wants to access that information for research, and other purposes. And it's all it's based off of the fiber network that Lafayette installed in Lafayette. And that was a big attraction to us when we moved there, was the access to certainly that fiber network and the university. So again, we see these partnerships when we plant ourselves in these communities. They really grow, really create a lot of really interesting innovation. And it's one way we've been able to build talent outside of some of the major metropolitan areas. Because again, a lot of this is about access to talent, about developing talent, and people that are going to stick with your company over the long haul.
Thank you very much. Continuing on this theme of workforce development, I must tell you that as a president of a university, I'm thrilled to hear your commitment and your passion, and also the kind of investment you're making in workforce development and the partnerships that you've developed with academic institutions across the country. I know each of your companies have had major investment in this area. As I mentioned in my introductory remark, the scale, the scope, and complexity of the fourth industrial revolution is truly unprecedented, especially the pace of advances that we're seeing in automation, in digitization, in robotics, and so on. There's, of course, some anxiety out there, not only in the US, but across the world, about the future of work. I want to start with Ulrich and ask each of our panelists to talk about, as you think about this paradigm shift, how are your companies approaching this, and how are you approaching it?
Yeah. Now look, at the moment we face a lot of people out there that are afraid what happens with new technology. And there's nothing new about that. When the car was invented, people threw stones against it because they thought the horse carriage drivers will be unemployed. When we invented the industrial robot in 1974, the unions went ballistic and said this will be bad for employment for the automotive industry. Fact is, the automotive industry has never employed more people than today. And when we take 3 steps back, we need to look at the development of mankind. In 1990, 30% of mankind lived below the extreme poverty line. Today, that's 8%. And the countries that have embraced technology have done a fantastic job moving people into higher income areas whilst using technology smartly. I was yesterday in China. I came in last night. We were together with President Xi Jinping, who really said very clearly embracing technology has helped him to move hundreds of millions of people into higher income buckets, and we need to look at that. Another anxiety is that people look at robotics and say this will be bad for employment. And fact is, the higher the density of robots, the lower the unemployment. The countries with the highest robot density in the world, Germany, Singapore, South Korea, have all more than 300 robots per 10,000 workers and have the lowest unemployment rates. And if I look at the American, the US car industry, since putting in more automation and robotization to drive productivity and quality, the quality of the product, the quality of the service, the quality of employment has improved, and so has then the demand associated with that. So I think it is our role as leaders to make sure that we take the people with us, that we inform, but that we also embrace the changes that are coming. I give you a real-life example out of ABB. We have, in the last couple of years, we took about $1.3 billion cost out of our white-collar areas. There were thousands of jobs that were automated. And it's very clear as a leader, you could just say, okay, I fire these people, they're gone. We choose a different path. When I look what Ravi has done with Infosys, that's similar what we did. We took people and said, in about 6-9 months' time, your job might be gone. And instead of firing them and paying restructuring, we offered them a training program, which was great for the people. It is good for the company, And by the way, it was even economically attractive because paying the training is much cheaper than doing the restructuring in the workforce altogether. And we have retrained thousands and thousands of people doing that. And it's very clear our responsibility is clear. We need to bring education, institutions like Carnegie and others. We need to bring the government and the companies together and say, let's really drive this in a positive way. I'm firmly convinced the countries in the world, the companies in the world, the teams in the world that embrace active workforce development as an opportunity and say, let's use technology to augment people and create more jobs, better jobs, more prosperity and growth, this will be the winning formula.
Thank you very much. Ravi.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that was very, very well covered. You know, every industrial revolution has created large number of jobs of the future and taken away jobs of the past. Yep. So you're going to have more jobs of the future, less jobs of the past. The key is reskilling, as Ulrich rightly pointed out. Reskilling and refactoring talent pools is a responsibility and the onus of the government, the societies we live in, the academic institutions, and large corporations have to come together for this common purpose. And I'll give you a few examples to support what Ulrich just said, which we have taken up. 70% of our needs of the future are going to come from reskilling and capability building. The most important set of capabilities will come from a variety of digital technologies. And I'll give a few examples to validate what I'm saying. One of the biggest capability pools needed for the future is design. Problem finding is going to become a much bigger virtue than problem solving. So design is all pervasive in all new age companies. Designing of systems, designing of processes, designing of security, privacy, organizational design, designing of physical objects. So we signed up with the Rhode Island School of Design to create 1,000 designers from liberal arts, design background, STEM background, and a variety of talent pools. That's an example of how to create future capabilities which will help you in the industrial revolution. The second example I wanted to talk about is a partnership with Udacity to build autonomous technologies. Autonomous technologies are going to take over manufacturing shop floors, farming, mining industry, or driverless cars. So we picked up legacy talent pools in the area of computer vision, sensor technologies, embedded technologies, and we've actually converted them into autonomous technology engineers for the future, which could pervasively be used in every industry which has a physical interface. The third example is cybersecurity. As landscapes of large corporations are going through massive transformation and they're getting digitized, cybersecurity is a huge pool of talent needed. We've signed up with Purdue to actually build a large pool of cybersecurity talent in the United States. And these partnerships are in conjunction with the local state governments. One of the biggest transformational initiatives the United States has to take up is the ability to take large pools of talent in community colleges and move them to the mainstream. There is a large pool of talent there which is doing part-time jobs, associate degrees. They would need an experiential and immersive training to get them into the mainstream. So we're working with a set of community colleges to identify those capability pools and transition them into the mainstream, into our workforce. We've sampled that out in the last 1 to 2 years, and we found that talent to be very extraordinary in terms of their commitment, in terms of their aspirations to be a part of the mainstream, and also in terms of bridging that gap which was needed for them to get into the mainstream. So as long as we can sense these capabilities, scale them and industrialize them, and we do this in a consortium of governments, academic institutions, and corporations, technology of the future is always going to create jobs much more than jobs of the past.
Thank you. Dave, what are your thoughts on this?
And it's absolutely, I'll key off of some of what Ravi said. I think that, when you talk about kind of the fourth industrial revolution and what's happening now, we've been talking about this convergence of business and IT. And we've been talking about it for a long time, but it's really happening now. And I think what we're seeing is no longer when you're developing solutions, IT or otherwise, do you have this long development cycle. You've got 6 months, 9 months, or a year, or 2 years to develop something and then put it out into the market. The cycles are much shorter now, and they're never ending. So there's a continuous development cycle that's happening now. And what that requires of us as an IT services partner to our clients is to really be present with them. And so when you have to be able to discern. You know, we have all the technology and the technical skills to build things right. But the question is, are we building the right thing? So we have to be present with our clients. We have to be present in their business. We have to employ design thinking and really make sure that we have people who can do the design and work with our clients to really get to that right thing. And then you embark on a continuous process to develop that. And we're using all the techniques of Agile and DevOps and being able to scale that. So again, our world is changing and it's changing very rapidly, but I think it does nothing but create opportunity. There's growth and tremendous opportunity in the space and certainly here in the U.S.
Thank you. We're in the final stretch of our panel. Ulrich, you're just about done completing a major acquisition in this country and creating a number of jobs, of course. As you look at the state of global innovation in the next 5 to 10 years, where do you anticipate your investments are going to be? And please comment on the acquisition as well, that you're just about done with it.
Now look, I give you two angles. I give you first an angle on technology and then an angle on segments. On the technology side, as I said before, we have moved from a copper and iron product company that did motors, transformers, and still do, and we should always remember there will be always physical products. The world will not get fed with bits and bytes. We need to have physical stuff and get that going. We added the electronics piece, we added software and services, and now we're adding AI. That means the whole workforce changes and the business model is changing. We're moving from a product-based business model to a solution-based business model, where I give my customers a solution, functionality that he wants, rather than a product. That means we need to drive innovation. How do we capture and really harvest and farm domain expertise? When we take certain solutions into countries where we don't have the critical domain expertise, can we use AI, for example, reasoning AI, and augment young, good people that are well educated but lack the domain expertise to get going? How do we fill what I call the cyber-physical Lego box of software and hardware building blocks to really get these solutions going? And how do I augment engineering, like Ravi said before, design engineering of these solutions to really drive this in the future? And there's a fascinating change going on in our own innovation focus, where we really say, rather than optimizing the physical dimensions of a product, we're looking at the customer value dimensions of the functionality of a solution. And that requires innovation in fields that we have historically not had, that we are driving into the future. Now, if you take from a sector perspective, here in the US, we got a couple of opportunities and needs. Infrastructure is old. The average age of a power transformer in New York is 36 years. The average lifetime expectancy is 30 years. So we need to do something about it. But today, we can not only say we replace it, we might use digital technologies to make these assets more healthy, to take the pulse on them and have better predictive analytics to make sure we're allocating the maintenance dollar, the CapEx dollar in a better way to the infrastructure to make sure that US will not fall back whilst industrial momentum comes with an infrastructure that might not have the same pace. If you take the industry, I think there's a tremendous opportunity to drive innovation power going forward in this part of the world. A lot of our customers that have historically offshored and had value added in emerging countries say, how do we reshore here and what do we do here? And exactly the model that I said before is really very important. When you bring a mobile phone production back to the US, you work with a US company, you work with the Foxcons of the world that are setting up facilities, and we're driving here solutions for the next level of industry together going forward in a really smart way with customers, with our key suppliers and partners here in the US. If you take the whole world of electric mobility that will be coming, and makes a lot of sense because we shouldn't burn the fossil fuel that you get here in the US out of the ground. We should use it and put more value added on it and have rather electric mobility. How do we really get this fleet going? We need the charging infrastructure, we need the cars, we need the grid reinforcement, and we need the renewables integration to make it a sustainable chain. So there's tremendous amount of opportunities to drive change and innovation going forward. We do this with partnerships, but we also do it by mobilizing the public. And just one small advertising, if you are in Brooklyn in the next couple of weeks, the ABB Formula E race, the first electric car race, will be coming and demonstrate the innovation power that we really have and the change that is coming, for example, in the transport system.
Thank you very much. Ravi, when you think about the next 5 to 10 years, where do you see your investment? Of course, you help a lot of companies. Infosys help a lot of companies manage their growth.
You know, I'll just keep this very short. And I'll kind of bullet it. The first one is our transition from a talent pool which is very STEM-centric to a design and a liberal arts and a very diverse talent pool. That's a huge investment we're going to make. We're going to be a pioneer in that. Very few technology providers use liberal arts and design talent from schools, so we're going to do that. We made this announcement of our training facility. We're going to make that up and running. And we're going to make that vibrant enough, not just for our usage, but also for all our clients. We have 1,000 plus large global 2,000 corporations. I think refactoring and reskilling is not just about us, it's actually about our clients as well. How fast we could do that will scale digital for them. The third is our ability to sense these new technologies. Additive manufacturing or 3D printing is going to come on the way. It's going to disrupt supply chains. Autonomous technologies is going to disrupt the shop floor. How do we help our clients embrace it? How do we build talent around it? Software-defined networks. In fact, we're working with Cornell on software-defined networks. Software-defined networks will redefine the interface of physical and digital. Internet of Things. A variety of these capabilities can be actually tapped into, and we could actually build these capability pools from schools and colleges we are working with. Our foundation, we have a foundation which is a nonprofit arm of Infosys, focuses around computer education in schools, K through 12. Now, that's a very important part of a journey. You know, tapping into schools and colleges and then running a 8 to 12-week training, finishing school to get them onto us is only one part of the journey. Unless we actually leverage that back into the schools and actually backward integrate it, our foundation is the largest, one of the largest on evangelizing computer education in the United States. We're going to invest heavily on it. And finally, women in technology. It's a huge issue in the US. There are very few women who want to opt for technology. We want to make it a part of our endeavor to have a very inclusive way of bringing more women into technology. So these are a few things we would sharpen as we go forward. More innovation and technology hubs in the US. We've done 4 of them now. I think we'll do more from here on.
Thank you very much. Dave, in the remaining minute that we have.
Sure. No, I think there's no escaping the fact that we're part of a global ecosystem. We're going to continue to invest in our operations around the globe, but especially here in the U.S., so that we can support not only our international clients that are electing to come to the U.S. and set up operations here, so we can provide them with a consistent experience and operating and working with them across their lines of business, both internationally and in the U.S. And vice versa, our clients that are here in the U.S. and are going global, we're going to be able to support them. And so we've got to continue to invest in that infrastructure here in the U.S. and globally for CGI that's going to support that. I think it does come back down to talent. It comes down to making sure that we have the right talent in proximity with our clients so that we can be a part of their business, whether they're in the U.S., Canada, France, wherever in the world, so that we can be a part of their business and take advantage of that global talent and the global network of capability that's out there and bring that to our clients and customers here in the U.S. So, you know, I think in my last 5 seconds, I'm going to say that data is really, I think, something that we're all trying to master. We're throwing a lot of technology at it so that we can derive more insights out of data. All of these devices, from IoT to your cell phone, are throwing off tremendous amounts of data. And so the ability to harness that and capture that for business insights, I think is going to be an area that we just have really only scratched the surface. So I think that's where we're going.
Well, this has been a terrific conversation. I want to thank our panelists for joining us and for sharing their thoughtful remarks with us. Once again, please join me in thanking our distinguished panelists.